7-Eleven, right? It's that familiar sign you see on a road trip, a quick stop for a Slurpee and some snacks. But what if I told you that the company you think you know has a kind of secret identity? And that the real story involves this stunning corporate takeover that completely flipped the business on its head, turning the American original into, well, a shadow of its Japanese counterpart.
It's a feeling that just hits you the second you step inside a 7-Eleven in Japan. It feels different, just better. And it makes you wonder, wait a minute, isn't this an American icon born and raised in Dallas, Texas? Well, the answer is a whole lot more complicated, and honestly, way more fascinating than you might think.
And you can really see the huge divide right here. In the US, it's a convenience store, plain and simple. But in Japan, it's basically essential infrastructure. You can go there to pay your utility bills, pick up packages, buy concert tickets, and grab a meal that's genuinely delicious. I mean, they're famous for their egg salad sandwiches for a reason. It's not just a store. It's woven right into the fabric of daily life. So look, this isn't just some interesting cultural difference. The American 7-Eleven business is actually struggling. Its own leaders are looking over at the massive success in Japan and publicly saying, we need to be more like that. But as we're about to find out, it's not something you can just copy and paste.
Okay, so to really get how we ended up here, we've got to go back in time. This is the incredible story of how the original American brand was completely outplayed by its own franchisee, leading to what you could call the ultimate reverse takeover.
Let's just walk through this timeline. It starts way back in 1927 as an ice company in Texas. Then in 46, it rebrands to 7-Eleven. And yep, it's named literally for its hours, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., which was a huge deal back then. Flash forward to 1973, a Japanese supermarket chain, Ito Yokado, licenses the brand. But then the whole script just flips. The American parent company goes bankrupt, and by 2005, the Japanese licensee buys the entire U.S. operation. Wild. And that's really the punchline to the whole story. The company that started out just borrowing the name in the playbook ended up owning the entire global brand. The student didn't just surpass the master, it went out and bought the whole school.
So how on earth did they do it? What is the secret sauce that turned a simple convenience store into this absolute retail powerhouse? Well, the answer is a masterclass in efficiency.
It all starts with the sheer scale of it. There are over 21,000 7-Eleven stores in Japan. I mean, just think about that for a second. A country roughly the size of California has nearly a quarter of all the 7-Elevens on the entire planet. But it's not just about having a ton of stores, it's about where you put them.
And this right here is their core strategy, their secret weapon. It's called the Area-Dominance strategy. Instead of spreading out, they do the exact opposite. They intentionally cluster dozens of stores in the very same neighborhood. Now that seems counterintuitive, right? Like, wouldn't they just be stealing each other's sales? Well, nope, because this density is actually what unlocks these incredible efficiencies.
This whole process is really the engine room of their success. So you cluster the stores, which means one single delivery truck can hit, say, 10 shops in one short trip. That allows them to deliver fresh food not just once a day, but multiple times a day. And here's the genius part. Every single time someone buys something, that sales data gets fed back into a central system. It creates this non-stop feedback loop, a kind of digital kaizen or continuous improvement that constantly fine-tunes what each store needs, sometimes hour by hour.
And what does all that get you? Well, it gets you this. In Japan, the store isn't just trying to sell everything to everyone all day long. It's trying to sell the right thing to the right customer at the right hour. In the morning, the shelves are stocked with breakfast items. Around noon, they're full of bento boxes for lunch. In the evening, it's hot foods and other snacks. So the very same shelf space might sell 4 completely different products in a single day, which means maximum freshness and almost no waste. Now, you might be thinking, hey, this idea of saturating a market, putting a store on every corner, that sounds really familiar. And you'd be right. Starbucks tried something pretty similar back in the 2000s. But for them, it was a total disaster that led to hundreds of stores closing. So why did it work for 7-Eleven and not for Starbucks?
The reason it totally backfired for Starbucks comes down to a fundamental difference in their business models. See, each Starbucks is this heavy, self-contained cafe. It's got high rent, high labor costs, all that stuff. So putting them close together just splits the customer pool while all those fixed costs get amplified. But a Japanese 7-Eleven is different. It's a lean, simple little store that's just plugged into this massive shared logistics network. So for them, clustering actually compounds efficiency instead of amplifying overhead. It's a completely different game.
And all of this brings us to the real core of the story. If the Japanese system is so brilliant, why can't the American side just, do that? Well, the answer lies in a series of deep and maybe even unbridgeable gaps.
It's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, the Japanese parent company is literally calling the shots now, so what's getting in the way? Well, as it turns out, it's not just about business strategy. It's about geography, it's about competition, and it's about the culture itself.
First up, the biggest barrier might just be geography. The American 7-Eleven grew up with the automobile. It's a gas station stop on the highway. Stores are spread way far apart, and they're designed for these massive long-haul truck deliveries that might only happen once a week. The Japanese model is the complete opposite. It's built for dense, walkable cities. That density is the key that makes the hyperlocal, multi-delivery-a-day system even possible. You just can't run that Japanese playbook in a landscape that was built for cars.
Second, the business culture is just worlds apart. In the US, it's pretty much a zero-sum war. Competitors guard their turf. But in Japan, there's this principle of coexistence. The big three convenience chains compete like crazy, sure, but they also kind of raise the standard for the entire market together. And then there are the franchisees. A US franchisee prides themselves on being their own boss. But in Japan, franchisees are deeply integrated, giving up a lot of control in exchange for being part of that incredibly powerful central system.
And finally, and this might be the biggest hurdle of all, there's society itself. Japan's model really works on a foundation of high social trust and public order. This makes it a lot easier to run stores 24/7 without huge security costs. In the US, operators have to budget for things like theft and safety issues as just a basic cost of doing business. Now, this isn't a judgment, but it does mean you can't just import a business model that depends on a level of social fabric that just doesn't exist in the same way everywhere.
It's also really important to point out that even this amazing Japanese model isn't invincible. Right now, it's facing its own serious challenges. Things like a shrinking population and rising labor costs, which is putting a ton of pressure on franchisees. It just goes to show you that no system, no matter how brilliant, is perfect forever.
And this quote really brings it all home. Japan's success wasn't about imitation. Not at all. It was about radical adaptation. They took the American brand name and completely re-engineered the entire business to fit the unique realities of Japanese cities, Japanese culture, and Japanese customers.
So the real lesson here for 7-Eleven in America isn't to just start selling more bento boxes or egg sandwiches. It's to do what the Japanese did. Build a system that is brutally honest about its own unique environment, its car-centric geography, its fiercely independent franchisees, and its own cultural realities. Which leaves us with one final big question. Can the American 7-Eleven ever truly innovate and create the best version of itself for itself? Or is it just destined to be a pale imitation, forever living in the shadow of its brilliant and, let's face it, far more successful Japanese parent? What do you think?